This is a political video. You all know the rules. If you don't like it, you just keep right on scrolling. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I don't care. I'm just going to point this out. I don't think that in my lifetime, and I think that's probably true for most people, have witnessed an implosion quite like this with the Orange administration. So for those of you who've been living under a rock for the last few days, there's an interview that is circulating everywhere where a sitting president has said that there's just not enough talented people here in the U.S. to do manufacturing. We need to import a bunch of people from other countries who will never leave. That's just a reality. They will never leave. They will come here and they will do some training of, in other words, waste a bunch of time and a bunch of money. And that's supposed to train Americans to be more talented and know how to build stuff here in the U.S. Of course, the U.S. is responsible for something like probably the top 150 inventions that are still used to this day all over the world. Yeah. But there's no talented people here, right? There's instead, what he came across as to me is like, well, so let me see if I understand this right. You have young people in America that have been sent to government schools in many cases for 12 years. You've had these kids for 12 full years. And after 12 years, they're not talented enough then, they're not skilled enough then to do anything appreciable. So they have to go into debt into these institutions, these college institutions that all need to be bailed out with 600,000 plus Chinese students because nobody wants to go to these institutions any longer because they don't teach anything that is appreciable. And take on a bunch of debt, and they're still told that, well, you're just not skilled enough, you're not talented enough, et cetera, by the leader of the country is telling them this after running this level of scam. I don't think that any of us have ever seen an implosion quite this bad. This is pretty bad. And there's no one he can throw under the bus. He can't throw somebody under the bus, Bill Pluto or whatever the hell his name was, the 50-year mortgage guy. Like, oh, no, that wasn't my fault. That was totally this other guy's fault. Like, yeah, dude, this was your interview. You were in it, and those words came out of your mouth. So, you actually said you accidentally said the quiet part out loud, and you spun it the wrong way. You insulted a bunch of Americans rather than just saying, Americans are too expensive, we don't like them, and we're trying to replace them. That would have been more honest. That would have been a far more honest way to, because then, but then Americans would have been really pissed off. They'd have said, wait, hold on, why are you trying to replace all of us? Well, yeah, it's because, like we owe you a bunch of gratitude and a bunch of money, and American companies live on this idea of endless large S and endless growth, which is a big problem. It's a huge mathematical problem, one that I've been pointing out for quite some time. Not just me, like other people have been pointing this out, that like this is a big problem. And so companies can only pay so much in taxes. They can only pay so much in dividends. They can only pay so much in interest rates. Goes back to like some of the very first video work I ever did. I explained this. Companies can only pay so much. Eventually, the only elasticity they're going to have is with their employees, which means that you just have to keep screwing the employees. So all the people who do all the work for you, you just have to keep screwing them until they finally don't show up for work anymore. They don't take it seriously. And now you need to import a bunch of people from the land of cheap geniuses wearing flip-flops and who can't deal with their goddamn garbage piles. 70 acres wide or big and 200-foot tall garbage piles. Those are the land of cheap geniuses. That's where we're going to bring those people in. And by the way, I'm not even picking on this. I said this in another video. I'm not even really picking on these people. I really genuinely have compassion for this. But it's like, dude, if you're seriously taking away the best and brightest, you are destroying that country by doing that. If in fact that's what you're doing, if you are in fact taking away their best and brightest, you're dooming that country. Or more than likely, it's their politicians that are just making a bunch of crazy promises that there's no way to actually do any of this. And rather than inspire people and tell them, hey, we need to actually fix a few things around here. Right? That's what I would tell people. It's what I would tell Americans. Like, dude, we have some things to do around here first. Let's get a lot of things fixed here first before we start talking about, rocket ships to Mars. Let's do that. We have like a lot of legitimate problems that we can be solving here in the U.S. And from an American perspective, I'm an American, big surprise. So I care about Americans. I don't care about what other countries are doing. Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, I care in the compassionate sense, but there's only so much you can do with it. So that's just like, I call it like I see it. And I don't think I've ever seen an implosion quite this bad.